Hello, my name is Matt Baker at ProSymmetry, and today we'll be going through how to create a workflow within Tempus resource. So the workflow that you create will be based off of the different forms and states that have already been created, and they will help associate those two different entities to make sure that when you're creating a project, you'll have the option to create a workflow project that follows that governance set up by the state field, as well as the forms that you've already created. To create a workflow, we'll head here to admin settings, and from here, we can select on the workflow management tile. So by default, we'll automatically be on the workflow option. And from here, you'll be able to see your existing workflows that you've created. To create a new workflow, we'll simply go over here to the left-hand side of the screen and hit create workflow. And we'll want to make sure we create a project workflow. And the first step will be to provide a name for the workflow that you're creating. And this will be the name that the user sees when they are creating that project. So in this case, I'm going to be creating a workflow based off of an approval process. So I'll just name this approval project. And then from there, you can then determine if you want to provide an additional description just to provide a little bit more insight on what this workflow is doing. The next step will be to choose the state field that you want to work off of. We can go ahead and select on this option. You can see all the state fields that are created in our system. You can see I have approval and innovation, intake, as well as stage gate. However, I'll be more so focused on an approval workflow. Next, we can then see that the states defined are based off of the workflow or the state field that we're working with, and we can choose which users will have access to these particular views. So by default, when a project is in the first state or initiation in this case, all use resources will have view as well as edit access. However, you'll be able to define which users have access to those for all the subsequent states. So let's say for the review state, the users that have view and edit access for this will be my administrators, project managers, as well as resource managers. And I'll make that update real fast. And then for the approval states, we're gonna make sure we only have administrator as well as our project managers displaying that for the approve as well as reject state. Okay, so once that's filled out, the last step, or the second to last step, will be just to determine the form that is associated to each one of these states. So I have a couple forms created in my system. The first one for my initiation will be my initial review. Next one will say manager review when we're reviewing that at a manager level. And then lastly, I'll have my final review for the approve and reject. And then the last step when creating your workflows will be to make sure that you assign which users will have the ability to create these workflow projects. So right now you can see I have no access defined. However, we can go ahead and select which users should have access based off the users in your system that have the ability to create workflow projects. So I'm going to go ahead and just select all by selecting on this select option to the left of type to search, saying all my resources that have the ability to create workflow projects should be able to create an approval project. Lastly, we can go ahead and hit create. And once that's created, the users will now be able to create that workflow project. And what that looks like is if we go here to the home page, navigate to project management and select on create project, we should now see that approval project within as an available option to choose from. If you have any questions, please feel free to visit prosymmetry.com and have a great rest of your day.